Hey, what's going on, Los Angeles? What is up? Welcome to the Ram Skinny here on the LAFB network. We are Los Angeles sports. Exciting things to talk about today here on this
For
recording. We're
sure.
hoping to get, yeah, very exciting. We're hoping to do a little closer to the big win on Thursday night, but busy weekend. So we're here now to talk about this 20-30 or I should say 30-20 victory over the Minnesota Vikings on Thursday Night Football. Skinny and I were together for the game, so got to watch it live and in person. And it was a all in all the best performance from this team so far in 2024 on all sides of the ball. Just a coaching clinic included. So really good stuff. So excited to get into it, talk all about that. But first and foremost, Mr. Skinny T, what's up, brother? How you doing on this fine NFL Sunday?
I'm doing great, man. Fantastic. Nothing to complain about whatsoever. It was a beautiful day. I went down to SoFi to check out the Chargers tailgate. A little show we're teasing. We've been trying to make work for a couple of years, but yeah, it was great day out there. Their offense found some juice today as well. But I'll tell you this, Rams fans, you come out in droves compared to the Chargers fans at the tailgates. You're definitely winning that popularity contest there. So thanks for coming out there, and thanks to the people that say what's up at those when you notice me out there. I appreciate that.
Yeah, amazing. So yeah, Ramley rolls deep in the pink lot, baby, down at SoFi and all over brown, orange. I know the tailgating is just in the pink. It's still I don't know why that like before we get into it, does it like do you like that they have like a designated tailgate area? So it's just like I mean it's like it's a legit party in that area, which is cool. Um, but do you like that or do you wish you could tailgate anywhere? Like it's still kind of weird to me because most stadiums is just tailgate anywhere.
Yeah, I think you condense it and it makes it a bit more of an event. So I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a lot of experience in tailgates, but yeah, it's it really gets condensed down there, and there's the energy is palpable. Even when it's not a huge crowd, and even when it's overrun by 49ers fans or Saints fans or whatever, still a really good time and a great atmosphere. Everybody's having a fantastic time. If you haven't been, definitely check it out some Sunday.
I mix on it because it's definitely cool how like it is a party. Like the pink lot is just bumping always. Everyone's got music, party games going. Like no one's driving right there, obviously, because it's like once you're in, you're locked in. So that is super cool. Um, there's just something about like being able to just like post up at a game at your own car if you didn't like pre-order pink lock tickets like before the
Yeah.
season, and bring your cooler with your boys, set up the TV and whatever. Because I mean, it's a different tailgate. Like it's a party. It's not just like put up the TV, watch the morning slate of games, have some beers, throw a pigskin around. It's like shoulder to shoulder, like
Oh yeah.
DJs playing noise. Like so, it's just I guess it depends what you're into. I guess maybe I'm just getting old and I just like posting up kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I had one drink while I was down there, and wanted to take a nap when I got home. So, but I had to work. I had a game to cover.
Yeah, I mean, when we last time I went with you to tailgate, you were drinking your usual bone broth at the tailgate.
Yeah, I don't eat breakfast, so that's my breakfast, guys. The little peek behind the curtain is
Yeah,
Ryan Skinny T drinks bone broth. That's how he stays skinny.
that's how you say skinny, and that's how I'm just revealing both of our ages there as we are talking about bone broth and being tired after a tailgate. Anyway, Rams team 30-20 to get to 3-4 on the season as maybe doom and gloom that was felt around this team 2 weeks ago, even a little bit last week after a very bad, ugly win against the Raiders. That was all seemingly wiped away after this big win. Now, there's still a lot of, it's still an uphill battle sitting at 3-4, but you really saw what this team was capable of with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp in the offense, with an offensive line with two rookies going up against one of the best blitzing and pressure teams in football, only giving up 4 total pressures, which obviously we'll talk about. This defense looked bad early. I mean, Minnesota drove the ball right down the first 2 drives, and then after that, they basically clenched up and looked like a well-rounded unit on defense. We'll get into it. It was just a very exciting game. But before we really dive in, show is always brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. Head to betonline.ag today. Bet on all the best lines, every game, every sport. They even have, obviously we're way past this, but they even have like the hot dog eating contest. I mean, they got everything over at BetOnline. Next week, Rams Seahawks, which we'll preview later in the week. Curious to see where those lines end up after the Seahawks lost today, got murdered today by the Buffalo Bills, and they look like they're in a tailspin where the Rams are in the upswing. Maybe the Rams will be a road favorite next week, which we'll see. Which really just, this is off topic. Go bet online, betonline.ag. Tell the guys at the Rams sent you, but I just randomly thought about this. That game, it is in Seattle, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, Lumen Field. Yeah, because I updated our games today.
Yep, sure.
I wish I would have. I didn't even think about this. I'm going to be literally in Seattle on Saturday for the USC Washington game.
Oh,
USC is playing against Washington in Seattle, and the very next day the Rams. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, well, I wrote about the Seattle tailgate years ago, and that sounds like a really good time. They actually do it kind of in the streets of Seattle, since it's kind of right downtown there, the stadium. So, yeah, I should have checked. You should booked a ticket for Monday.
Yeah, well, I saw it because I wanted to go I had that game circled for USC as one of the away games because I was like, I haven't been in Seattle in a while. I've been there before, but haven't been in a while. And I always hear about the Sailgate at UW. And, I love the Pacific Northwest. It's one of my favorite places in the world. I just love the Pacific Northwest. And so talking to the wife, and I was like, I'm going to go to this game, and why don't we just plan a little weekend getaway out of it? And so then she doubled down. I was like, well, why don't we just do Vancouver instead of Seattle? And I was like, all right, I guess that's okay. It's, it's not close. The misconception is they're both on the border. So it's hop and escape. It's still a solid 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to make that drive on Saturday. But now I'm like, well, now I should have really pushed for just staying in Seattle. Cause I'm like, I can't go all day Seattle and then go back. And then Sunday be like, oh, I'm going back to Seattle. Then it's like, well, there's not a trip at all. So anyway, I'm mad at myself. I didn't even realize I didn't mesh the schedules up. But anyway, we'll preview that game later in the week. So, big picture of this game, or big cloud view, just your overall thoughts. I mean, what a dominant performance.
Look what two starting receivers can do for an offense. I don't know how much you can attribute the performance of the offense as a whole to just those two guys coming back, but you got to think that's a lot. Stafford hit only 2 times. He'd been getting hit 10 plus times every game. And as you said before, this is not the starting lineup of the offensive line. Credit once again to Ryan Wendell, coach of the year, offensive line coach of the year. Wow.
Bro.
Doing a heck of a job with truly next man up mentality for him. So, I mean, it's hard not to look at those two guys returning and having pretty great days. Not playing 100% of the snaps either. They're playing about 60% of the snaps. I'm not entirely sure what their general snap count is, but gave him some reps off. Had some 12 personnel, seven targets for our guy Kyren Williams. So things that we wanted to see. That's probably my big takeaway, is the things that we wanted to see really manifesting themselves, especially on the offense. You got Kyren Williams getting 3.1 yards before contact, which is what he was getting last season when he was going on his tear. This season so far, it's been about a half yard less of that. And you can see that. You can see the effects of that. So, yeah, I mean, you got to look at the offense first, just because it's such a relief to see that, it can happen. The things that we were promised from this offense can happen. So we got the stat lines: 106 yards for Puka Nacua, 51 for Cooper Kupp. Explosive passes to Nacua, Kupp, Demarcus Robinson, Hunter Long, Tutu Atwell, all coming up with really game-changing plays. So that's just kind of what I mean. You got to feel much, much better about that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny, right? Demarcus Robinson was essentially supposed to be wide receiver 1 with the 2 bigs out, and basically was not involved in the offense. I mean, Jordan Whittington and Lily had basically ascended to wide receiver 1. Tyler Johnson was more involved. Tutu Atwell, was much more involved. And Marcus Robinson couldn't do anything. But then the 2 guys come back, 2 tubbies for Demarcus Robinson. Where did that come from? All of a sudden, the 2 actual stars of the show are back. And we talked about that in the pregame. Regardless of how much involved Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are, which they actually both were very involved. You just mentioned the target share. But regardless, it's going to take the pressure off of those other guys to do what they were brought here or re-signed to do. And they did that. And obviously, Demarcus Robinson was able to just utilize his big catch radius and big body in the red zone to get those 2 touchdowns. He only had 2 catches, 35 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's a pretty good stat line for him. So it just shows the importance of what Kupp and Puka bring to the offense in terms of their versatility as pass catchers, but also freeing things up for the rest. And then you mentioned the run game. We've talked about it in years past, and obviously last year too, how both Nacua and Kupp are extremely good run blockers, and that is a such an important factor of the McVay offense is receivers have to be able to block. We've known that all the way back to Bobby Trees. And so that was another facet of the offense that was gone. You lose those 2, you're losing 2 of the best pass blockers in football. And we saw watching together one of those plays where they have Puka Nacua in line, almost like a tight end, taking on a linebacker block that freed up a nice run for Kyren Williams. So that was the importance. And then, the offensive line, Ryan Wendell, man. Like, I just looked again. I don't know if PFF updated it or if it's incorrect, but I could have sworn after the game it had Vikings only getting 4 pressures. Now it has 12, which I don't necessarily believe they had 12 pressures watching that game.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I mean, I think he had a ton of time. Looking at Pro Football Reference, they have Stafford with four pressures, 11.88% of his dropbacks.
I don't know. Pressure. I don't know what PFF updated because they had it during the game. Their live updates at 4, and all of a sudden it's 12. They credited Jonathan Greenyard with 5 pressures himself, which I don't necessarily agree with. But anyway, regardless
PFF
of what,
PFF is a little bit liberal with that.
Yeah, I think they're trying to give a little bit of more credit there, maybe. But this offensive line did great with Justin Dietich and Bo Limmer again in the middle, and I think some of the play design that Sean McVay did to free things up were really, really well done and get the ball out of Stafford's hands quick. And then Stafford had one of his best games we've seen. We challenged him a little bit after 2 back-to-back pretty poor performances against the Raiders in a win, one of his worst performances as a Ram. You wrote an article, actually, wasn't it his least passing total ever as a Ram?
Yeah. And probably in the bottom 10 of his entire career.
Yeah. And so comes out against a much better defense. Going into this game, you could argue one of the best defenses football, extremely efficient, 25 of 34, 279 yards, did have 1 pick, but 4 touchdowns. So just a fantastic game for the signal caller behind center. And then last kind of big picture thing, this defense, like we said, started off, Vikings were able to move the ball. Justin Jefferson's really good. Jordan Addison's really good. Aaron Jones is a good running back, good capable running back. Sam Darnold's been slinging the ball well, but they definitely buckled down. I think losing Christian Darrisaw at tackle for the Vikings was a huge monster loss for them, and the Rams exploited that. I mean, you never want to root for an injury, but when a guy goes down, you got to then exploit that weakness, and the Rams certainly did that with Jared Verse and Byron Young around the edges, and just played some elite defense down the stretch. And when you look at the Vikings, I mean, they only gave up their weakness was running. They only gave up 58 yards to Aaron Jones, 19 carries, 3.1 yard average. I mean, that is a fantastic improvement from where we've seen this defense in weeks past, specifically against the run. Justin Jefferson had his 8, as we expected, 8 for 115, but no one else did a whole lot. Jordan Addison, 2 for 22. I mean, they held everyone else in check and did a really good job. So it was just for a short week, first and foremost, getting 2 star players back with little to no practice. I mean, Puka Nacua, his window was open like on Wednesday, and then all of a sudden announced on Thursday he's active. So none of them really practiced with the team, and to have that kind of game plan, that kind of execution was just really, really, it was just enjoyable to watch. So it was a fun game for Rams fans after what's been a hard season so far.
Yeah, definitely. And you think back to the precipice that it felt like they were on, that this 3-game stretch between the Raiders, Vikings, and then soon to come the Seahawks was a pivotal. Is that the word?
Now I can't think of it. I know what you're trying to say.
The the whole season could hinge on these 3 games.
Yes.
And we did not, you and I did not pick this as a winner. Now I'll say this. I want to talk about the defense a little bit as well, but
Pivotal.
what kind of game?
Pivotal is the word.
Pivotal.
There we go. No B in there. No pivotal.
There's no B in there.
Pivotal.
I knew it was wrong. It was in my head all wrong. But what kind of gamesmanship was it for Puka Nacua just fly under the radar? Oh, he's probably not going to come back. Maybe we'll get him against the Seattle Seahawks, and then all of a sudden he's starting. He's playing about 60% of the reps. He looks great out there. He doesn't look like he hurts at all. I think they were just kind of playing it close to the vest to exactly what his injury status was. And then, bam, just caught him off guard. They were not prepared. They were not prepared at all.
That's a great point. And I think the Rams in a lot of instances have a really bad poker face, as we said, with trade rumors and in contract stuff. They have really bad poker face. But with this, certainly well. I mean, we know guys that cover the Vikings. We have buddies that write and do shows for the Vikings. And they all week were like, yeah, no way he's playing. Like, not to us, but we're like in the same chat, so we can see what they're saying. And they're like, yeah, he's not playing. And then when his window opened, like, okay, cool, but he's not playing. And then when it was announced on Thursday he's active, they were all like shocked, like, what? And we were like, kind of like, I think he might go. But no one really knew. And yeah, it does feel like McVay and company were like, yeah, he's going to go for the Vikings, but we're not going to announce it till Thursday morning and not give them any edge. And you're right, the defense did not look prepared to have to be able to face both Kupp and Nacua, as they both were announced, Wednesday and Thursday, basically simultaneously. So, nice little gamesmanship there from McVay.
Yeah, they get it right occasionally on that front, but the defense, you got to point out the offense and how much better that felt. But for me, the defense is really the story of this game. You mentioned it, the running yards. That was probably their best game against the rush all season, I would imagine.
Yeah, under 100 yards.
Yeah, you got to love that. And I think for this game in particular, that really started around the pass rush. What a fantastic day for Jared Verse. Logging 2 sacks, 1.5 sacks, depending on the outlet you want to look at. But pressures from all over the place. They were looking like the Minnesota Vikings with the interesting defense that Chris Shula was rolling out there with all the different stunts and loops and twists and all that good stuff. So I mean, to me, that's the story. Not only that, but one missed tackle, 2 missed tackles, again, depending on which outlet you look at. That has not been this defense. Mm-hmm. So maybe they're getting things figured out in the back end. They're, Tre'Davious White is on the trade block. He's being shopped around. They're interested in moving on from him. By reporting by Jordan Rodriguez, said that they had never anticipated him to play such a big role, but because of the injuries in the back end, he had to play a lot more, which I don't know if I buy that, because, not a huge contract or anything like that, but obviously with his injury history, it was a gamble. And I think they're folding on that gamble for sure at this point. Yeah. But yeah, the defense seems to be figuring things out. Braden Fisk was able to play. He had himself a nice day. Defensive line's coming together. Secondary, it's just those linebackers. I don't know. Maybe that's the last trade topic we can talk about it before November 5th on the deadline. But yeah, I mean that's the story for me there. Yeah,
and I think this game showed, like, regardless how this season really plays out, which again, it's on the uptick now, and big game at Seattle division. If they win, with Seattle losing today, if the Rams win, they can have the division lead at 4-4, or at least a split of it. So. But I think this shows that the front 3 of Byron Young, Braden Fisk, and Jared Verse, it's a very bright future for this defensive front. And then you can build around those guys in the back end. I think still has some questions, but there's a lot of youth there, obviously, with Cobie Durant and Cam Kinchins and Curl, who got banged up in this game, but he's on a 2-year deal and he's still very young on his second contract in the NFL and whatnot. So there's a lot of good pieces that we're seeing that you can build a lot around for the future, and have shown they've drafted well and hit on these young guys. So now if they can keep developing them, I'm talking big picture, but keep developing them. That'll be great. But then just for the season, if they're just going to keep getting better and better as well. So I think that's really exciting. I mean, I don't know if anyone, we all liked the Jared Verse pick, thought he was going to be really good. I don't know if anyone thought he'd be this good this early. Like, has he surprised you how good he's been? And again, there's been some issues, some missed tackling issues, a lot of pressures, but not a lot of sacks turning those in. And that sometimes has to come with, gap integrity or, having like too much explosiveness, but not the sound, to make the right move where the quarterback is or whatnot. But overall, I mean, he's been fantastic. Are you surprised at how good he has been?
I thought he would be in the conversation among these other guys, Latu, Byron Murphy. Dallas Turner played in this game, who's barely making a dent over there in Minnesota. I thought he'd be in that mix in the conversation, but he's far and away, he's got to be the candidate. Maybe is it not Kamari Lassiter or the USC cornerback that's out there? He's got a couple interceptions. He might be in that conversation, but far and away, this guy's going to win this award. And if he keeps racking up sacks, picking up one or two sacks here for the rest of the season, he's going to solidify that. And I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
He was so far off my radar even because of how different he played defense, hand in the ground, bigger guy rather than a long, lanky guy like Leonard Floyd. Obviously, this defense is completely different, but that I wasn't even really thinking that he would be an option for him, so I didn't even study him that closely as I did with Latu and Dallas Turner and Byron Murphy. Even I was kind of on that train. So yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't even mention Kobie Turner, who obviously is still a really good player and should have been Rookie of the Year last year. No. So 2 second year, 2 rookies. I mean, you're never going to fill the void of Donald, as everyone states, but they've done a really good job in a very short time of getting 4 guys that are the future of this defense. And so that has to be exciting. And we've seen them in real time just get better and better. And now it's just about the pieces around them solidifying and really making this defense a solid group. And on Thursday, they did that, and they were a solid group. Now, can you stack those games and keep that consistency? And when defenses or offenses get more film on you and whatnot to exploit, like, how do you keep building? But for now, there's got to be a lot of excitement around that. And yeah, I mean, it was just an impressive performance all around. I remember sitting there watching with you and like, yeah, this is the best they've looked since last December, like last January. I mean, it was impressive.
Yeah, for sure. So now after that game, Rams playoff chances jump from the 20s into the 40s. And now with Seattle losing, that's probably jumping up even more. And that's by the Athletics NFL playoff predictor. I'm not sure if that's behind a paywall or not, but it's a handy, fun little tool to play around with, keep an eye on. Yeah. But I mean, that's going back a couple of weeks, that prediction was in the teens, like 15, like sometimes like 10%. So, it just goes to show you how quickly things can change in the NFL, and particularly in the NFC West, where people keep saying it. It's wide open. Seattle has been up and down. We'll see what the 49ers do tonight, and also just kind of how do they fix their team with all the injuries. What a wild world. The 49er gets shot before the season. He's in the hospital. I think he's playing tonight. Rookie Pearsall. Yeah. Deebo Samuel's in the hospital with pneumonia.
Yeah. Ayuk's out for the season.
Ayuk is out for the season. Christian McCaffrey went to Germany to try to figure out his leg problems. So, but anyway, all that to say is this is completely wide open, and it's as everybody likes to say, there's plenty of football to be played. So,
yeah. A lot to be played. And I think for now, I'm kind of in with this, like all the trade rumors that were happening, and we talked about it. Oh, brought it up. Excuse me. Been a long day already. Yeah, that one came out of nowhere. That's been talked about by everyone. I think for now, I mean, those are done at this point. Seeing what happens against Seattle, obviously, we said it all along, right? Seattle was going to be the linchpin game. You lose that. We didn't have them winning Minnesota, but regardless, you lose that. You're at 3-5 now. You might still question what you do at the trade deadline. But as of right now, you go into that game expecting to win with the way Seattle looked today. And you're now becoming buyers at the trade deadline. Like, you're like, okay, who can we go get to really go on a run? Like, do we need more receiving depth? Do we need more offensive line depth? Do we need a true shutdown corner on the back end, similar to what they did to go get Jalen Ramsey, a while back in that run? Do we need more depth, or do we need an actual inside linebacker like we talked about, which they're now going to go against Ernest Jones, who was just traded to the Seattle Seahawks, so they'll get to see him again, unfortunately. But this game hinges a lot. And I think even if they were to lose, which again, we'll talk preview later, I still don't know if they are sellers anymore, just because they have closed the gap so much. The NFC West is so wide open. No one's pulling away. As you mentioned, Niners playing the Cowboys right now. If they were to lose this game and be at 3-5, then it's at the most you lose to the Seahawks. You're still only a game back at sitting at 3-5. So I think regardless, they're not going to be sellers. And so that's how important this Thursday game was for the construction of this team, not just for the season, but for, your star players and what you look for. So I know fans would love that. Some might still want to burn it down, but I think the others, obviously, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, I mean, those are the faces of this Rams team left with Aaron Donald departing. So, seeing those guys go would have been tough on fans. And I think you see that the difference they make when they're all together. So we'll see. Things can change very quickly, as they did on Thursday night. I mean, Thursday morning, we're talking about, is Cooper Kupp going to be a Chief or a Charger or a Raven? Stafford, is he going to be a Viking who they're playing later that night? And Thursday night at 10 p.m., it's like, all right, we're back on a Super Bowl run. And so things can change like that. That's just what's so fun about the NFL.
Yeah, and we saw a change in a positive light. Don't forget, this defense could regress. Geno Smith could go off. I mean, I think DK Metcalf is out, but
he was out today. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, the Athletic is calling the Seattle Seahawks game a straight up toss up. They call it a 50%. Nobody has an advantage there from their projection, from their models, which, models are models, but we'll talk more about that game probably on Thursday, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. So big win, great for the Rams, 30-20. Really fun game at SoFi. Great weekend in Los Angeles. You get the Rams dominating on Thursday. You get the Dodgers in dramatic fashion with a walk-off grand slam on Friday, game 1 of the World Series. They win on Saturday as well to commanding 2-0 lead. USC, I know a lot of people think the season's over, but hey, dominated Rutgers on Friday. I was at the game. Get back to 4-4. Hopefully turn this thing in the right direction, especially with recruiting. Lakers 3-0 to start the season. Clippers get a win against the Nuggets. Like, it was a big weekend for Chargers won today as well. So big weekend in LA. All winning. The winning city is back.
It was weird. It was a Thursday game, a Friday game for the USC one. Nothing on Saturday. Well, no, we had Dodgers on Saturday.
Dodgers Saturday night, yeah.
Dodgers Saturday night, and then Chargers on Sunday. So the news cycle, I got to tell you guys, was not friendly to me in my writing duties. It
still feels weird. Like, today almost feels like Saturday night. Like, I took yesterday off, like first Saturday off in quite some time. So, and back at it today, and tomorrow's Monday, I guess. So, great weekend in LA. Thank you all for hanging out. Sorry this was out a little later than we wanted, but a great win for the Rams. Moved to 3-4. We'll be back in a few days to preview the Seahawks, see if this thing can get back to 500, and then go up from there. But this is the Rams Skinny for Skinny T. I'm Ryan Darrett. Everyone have a great week. Talk to y'all soon.